Are you on, Bridget? We're good? Okay. Okay, 7 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting agenda of the Township of Lyon Board of Trustees. It is Monday, August 7th, 2023. If we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. April, please let the record show. We are all present. We're going to move on to the approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I'll support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. We do have a deletion tonight. I think we need to take off Aspen Trail, which is unfinished business A.
Yes, thank you.
And we'd like to add a update to the personnel policy, being new business J.
K.
Okay.
K.
Oh,
J's on the third page.
oh, okay, got it.
I'll move the approval of the agenda with the modifications just covered by the supervisor.
Support.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move on to announcements. Anybody have any announcements to make?
Not today.
Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to call of the public. This is going to be where you can talk about non-agenda related items. Please give your name and address for the record, and we do need to keep it in a 3-minute time span.
Hi, I'm Holly Teese. I'm the Director of Lyon Township Public Library, and I'm here to invite all of you and anybody in the public. We're having a review of the plans thus far on the new library on August 23rd at 7 o'clock. People can attend in person as well as on Zoom. So if you go to our website, you can register to receive a Zoom link, and this is for people of the public to come and view the plans thus far and to give public feedback. So we really encourage everybody who's interested to come. We're also planning, as it's on Zoom, we're going to record it and make it available on the website. So if you're not able to attend that evening, it'll be available on the website for people to view. Okay, that's it. Thanks. There's flyers in the back too. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else like to come on up? Oh, and please let everyone know, we don't comment on this portion just
Oh, I
because it's
understand.
new to us and we need time to research things.
But may I make one comment? If you could all pull your mics a little closer,
I
no
do
one
try to
can
talk.
hear you, and I'm in the third row.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Cheryl Chuck. As the president of the Lyon Township Public Library Board of Trustees, I am very disappointed at the Township Board's decision to exclude the intergovernmental agreement and lease for the library from the agenda from tonight's board meeting. We asked for it to be removed from the July 5th meeting as it was already released on your website 6 days prior to the township board meeting. And those 6 days included a weekend and the 4th of July holiday, making it impossible for the library board to discuss, review, or have our attorney review it. Since then, we did have our legal counsel review the documents you presented for us to sign at the July meeting, provided edits, and provided those documents to all of the trustees in enough time for review and to have an informed discussion at this meeting. We are currently delayed in our project for the library, a project that was approved by the voters and that residents are anxiously awaiting for. Due to the delay of these discussions, we have been waiting for a draft intergovernmental agreement from the township since December of 2022, and we do not understand the need for the delay. The library board has been timely in moving forward with this project by doing an RFP, which is a request for proposal, for architectural services in December of 2022, hiring an architectural firm in February of 2023. Did I say 2002? I meant 22. And since then, moving forward with the design, I hope that the elected township board will provide the residents of the township and the elected board of the library the courtesy of no longer delaying the agreement to an open discussion. Wait a minute, delaying and agree to an open discussion. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to say anything?
I'm going to have to comment on this, okay? I saw a copy of the email that was sent, and it was misleading at best, okay? This project has not been delayed. You are going forward with designing the building, and that's not even complete yet. The township did prepare an interlocal agreement and a lease and provided it to the library. We had it on the agenda to be approved July 5th, okay? You say you didn't have time to review it, and you asked that it be removed from the agenda, and we did. After that, the library board and its attorney revised the lease, approved it, signed it, sent it to every member of the board, telling them to place it on the agenda. The revised lease and documents do not contain the agreement that had been discussed before. And it also contains some provisions that are illegal, okay? Because of that, it was not placed on this agenda. We don't negotiate agreements in open meetings, okay? That is done with the parties and through the attorneys. And when an agreement is ready, it will be placed on the board agenda and not before that.
Okay, and the only reason that she commented on that, we had to make it clear. That's all. Well, this is not a discussion period. Let's move on. Anyone else? Come on up. Come on up.
Hi, good evening. My name is Steve Gross. My address is 20825 Napier Road. I'm also here to speak regarding the new library. As Cheryl commented, the new library does have widespread community support. I did participate in the fundraising for the millage campaign. And I noted that after the election, it was passed in every precinct in Lyon Township. So there is widespread support for a new library facility. And I would like to see the new facility up and running in a timely fashion. So I am just here to encourage both the Township Board, who are all here tonight, and the Library Board, who are largely here tonight, to expeditiously complete the needed intergovernmental agreement in order to continue progress on this great new resource for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else like to come on up? Oh, okay, come on. Come on. You're good. You're good.
Oh, I'm just going to read a couple of short paragraphs. The Smith family here and I are here because the township
Could you give us
ordinance...
your name and your address, please.
Rob Mikowski, the property is 27605 Henry Road. This is where Brian lives.
Thank you.
I live at 10356 Royce Drive, South Lyon.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
And you'll see the ticket, the 3 pages was the enclosed with the ticket that Mark Snyder sent me. And we're here because the township ordinance officer refuses to perform his duties in an honest, legal, and unbiased fashion. I'm sure that you are unaware what has been going on, and it needs to be brought to the board's attention to save the citizens and taxpayers needless attorney fees. The ordinance officer, Mark Snyder, refuses to enforce the ordinance that with the property across the street, which is 27530 Henry, and he denies that there's a ditch there, creating a flow of water into the culvert and draining on our property and the properties back. Being the old military man I am, I went up to the chain of command because Snyder just refuses to listen to me and deny the existence of a ditch there, and that, well, you always had water there. So if I had water there, the ditch is putting multiples amounts of volume of water onto the property, and it flows all the way through to the back to the neighbors. So I went to the building inspector, and he really didn't want to help. Snyder says, "You call me a liar? You'll see the pictures of the ticket that he wrote on that day with the letter." So he asked me to call. I called him, and I says, "How could you take a look at the culvert when it was all covered like an Arctic snow scene?" So right away he texted me. He had my cell number then, and he texted me that picture that was taken in the spring or summer or something. So he wasn't honest. And he tried to prosecute me. He wrote me the ticket. He told me he was going to scratch it because once I caught him in this lie, he was my best friend. "Well, I'm going to take care of this ticket." He never did. I called the court 3 times that morning. "Nope, it's not canceled." So I shot down there. I went in front of Judge Reed, and I was ready to show him all the pictures I got, dozens and dozens. And
Okay.
they canceled it.
Let me do this. We'll
So-
go ahead. We've got your name and address. We've got your number. Let me talk to him. Let me have a talk with him. I'll talk to him the next day or so, and we'll see where everything's at, and we'll get back to you. Okay?
Okay, thank
Is
you.
that fair enough?
Yes, yes it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
We will
but
get back.
like I said, there always was water there, but not this volume. And then 4 years ago, he had a backhoe and he dug the ditch deeper. And he says, "No, he didn't." Yeah, he did.
Well, let me talk.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
248-214-5889. Ron Nowakowski. Thank you.
Okay, go
Thank you
ahead.
for your time.
Oh, no problem.
Hi, I'm Amanda Godward. I reside at 5627 9 Mile Road, South Lyon. I voted for the library and park project like the majority of voters last fall. We're entrusting you with our tax dollars to efficiently produce a library and park for our residents. It is frustrating and disappointing to learn that the Township Board is not being transparent with the development of the intergovernmental agreement, and that the inaction is now causing delays so early on in this important project. Needless to say, this project does not appear to be off to a strong start. The ballot measure, let's see. It's frustrating to hear the hiring of a construction manager has not been approved and is delaying the project and causing unnecessary costs, because there has to now have been a hiring for an estimator so that the project could move forward. A transparent, open discussion on public record with both boards to come to an agreement on the joint project should take place. The ballot measure was passed over 9 months ago, and I believe you had a draft intergovernmental agreement at that time. Not only did you know that the project was coming, obviously, when the ballot passed, but the library has also been really transparent, I feel, about their planning and their timeline. And I believe a township trustee sits on the project site committee, which also has a very detailed timeline. So that should have been reported back that there is, in fact, some delays being caused on the project. The library is not a special interest group.
and this is not meant to be an attack. We are residents expressing concern that the township trustees are not doing an efficient job to manage our tax dollars and transparently work alongside the library board to provide us with the library and park we've all voted for and are excited to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Come on up.
My name is Don Gerlin. I live at 27917 Tremont Drive, New Hudson. I'm a trustee on the library board. I just heard from Carol that what we sent to her was illegal. My question, did you ever send back to Holly or to the other trustees and inform us what you were unhappy about with the agreement?
We'll be doing that, all right? I'm not the one in my office that have been handling these agreements. We have a meeting scheduled to discuss it on Thursday, and then we will respond to you.
Okay, well, the two boards need to work together to get this done in a timely manner, rather sending documents back and forth and having then meetings once a month. We can't get anything accomplished. We're being held up. We need to hire a construction manager. We need to get these agreements resolved. You're working for the taxpayers. We are also. Let's get together and mutually agree as soon as possible to get these intergovernment agreement completed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
How you doing?
Amy Deeds, 57431 Hidden Timbers Drive. I'm also on the library board. I spoke to Sean. We talked, and we knew we weren't expecting any kind of vote tonight on these intergovernmental agreements or anything like that. We knew the lawyers would be going back and forth because that's what they do. And I guess, and Sean was thinking, and just like Carol just stated, that, we are going ahead and getting the design process done, but the problem is we are at kind of a standstill right now because of this construction manager, the RFP. We need to get that out. It was on the original timeline, which Robert and I think Patty both had from Quinn Evans. That was supposed to be done back in May, and now we're quite a bit behind. So we were hoping that at least we could agree to, like we talked about during our site planning meetings, to you guys to vote to agree to let the site planning committee go ahead and agree on an RFP and send that out and let us, and then we would make recommendations and at least get that part of it done. I guess that's what's really holding up the whole project right now, is the RFP for the construction manager. Because where Quinn Evans is right now, they need costs to estimate, and you knew a lot about that, Sean, a lot more than me. So that's really what we just want to get moving along. I think that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come on up? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll close the call to the public, move on to reports.
John, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to devolve into discussion, but is it going to require township board action? Do you know? Carol, do you know, to allow them to move ahead with just putting the RFP out? Will that require township board action?
I didn't know that it did.
I was just confused by it, and I feel like because
This is
Amy
the first
mentioned
I heard
that
it. They were held up on that. I don't know why.
I would just think at the committee level, I'm asking, but I'm sharing. It seems like at the committee level, Robert and Patty are our representatives. If they agree to move ahead, all we're doing is then asking for the RFP to be publicized.
Correct.
Nothing's being agreed to. Information will be collected over probably a 3 or 4 week period. It'll take a week to tabulate it. It'll be a month before we even know who they're liking or who the committee is liking. So I'm just asking the question because Amy and I did have a conversation last week, and it was a question that I had about the process. I didn't understand that the RFP would have to come back to us. But I think that that's the holdup that's being talked about, because the design's moving on. I mean, Holly led off tonight by sharing how far they are on their design. So we're not holding the process up. The
No,
process is
certainly
moving
there's
ahead.
no reason why they can't send out the RFP.
Okay.
And then when they're awarding a contract, then I would assume that would come back to you at that point to review. But the RFP process takes time. You can just go ahead and start that.
So again, I don't want to get into, this is not an agenda item, but this seems like if there's just a little miscommunication that could be cleared up.
Well, I think you could absolutely do that. I do. This project's going forward.
Yeah.
We've already told you we're in the game. We've given the property. We threw $2.5 million into the case. We're not backing out. These are important documents, and I guess the thing that gets me the most is everyone here says, and I don't want to get into a conversation either, but Amy, you just said you called Sean. Why don't you call me? You guys, why don't some of you guys call me and get me? I run the day-to-day operations. If you guys could call me and get me into the loop on this stuff, or tell Patty and have Patty come talk to me, these things would move. I'm all about getting this thing moving. We don't stall our feet here.
I also want to say, because everyone else has had a chance to speak, because I'm going to speak.
But we shouldn't be speaking.
Really quickly, just I guess my call to the public. Any assertion that this board
Got 3
is
minutes.
purposely holding up and has anything to do with this process is disingenuous at best. This board is on board. This board has done numerous things over the course of the last year in support of this project, and so it's disheartening to hear that someone somewhere is saying something contrary, because all the activities that have happened in this room say otherwise. So, I mean, and if anyone certainly, everybody knows how to reach me. If they've got a frustration or a concern, I would love to hear from you, because I would love to understand where the sentiment's coming from. But
I would too. And Sean does tell me. When he gets calls, he calls me. We talk it out. We're on board. Library, we're on board. I don't know we are on board. You don't give property and $2.5 million to a project, we're on board. I don't know what else we can do. We're ready to go. We'll get it done.
Never said you weren't on board. We were just
Okay,
trying
but
to keep it moving.
okay. Well, we're going to move on because we shouldn't have these conversations anywhere. So we're going to move on to reports and DDA.
Well, hello, everyone. I apologize I wasn't at the last meeting. I was attending our Music on the Grand series. But since I was last in front of you, I wanted to let you know that we did have a DDA board member that resigned, Mark Zerlag. He is still active on some of our subcommittees, but he had some personal matters that required a little more of his time. So we're actively recruiting for a new DDA board member position. We do have a new vice chair that was appointed, Dr. Elisa Gezzi, and she's also the chair of our Economic Vitality Committee now. And we are doing some revamping of that committee, which we're really excited about. We're going to expand our focus under that area and really try to promote and create some entrepreneur services, some financial resources for businesses in our area, and work on some property development and recruitment promotions. So we're really updating some of those things under that area that we haven't done before. So I'm looking forward to that. We recently had our Touch a Truck event, which was a first-time program. We had over 400 participants come out to it. We worked in conjunction with Lowe's and South Lyon Area Recreation Authority. Thought it was a fantastic program. We had 2 new chair people step up to run that, Justine Jovanovski and Steve Grant, and they did a fantastic job. We had probably 16 businesses that got involved with that event too, so thank you to everybody who came out to that. We were able to have a small group of us that toured Kawasaki Robotics facility over the last month, which was a really interesting tour. We're getting them in contact with the South Lyon Public Schools to start up a possible program with some of their students getting involved in the robotics program over there, possibly doing some site visits. So we'll be meeting with the schools and Kawasaki within the next week. We'll also be visiting SW Machines on August 25th. They're hosting an open house and have extended the invitation to anybody who would like to attend that. There's more information available if you'd like to attend. I sent an email out, but you can contact me for more details. I wanted to also let you know that we have a first draft of our TIF Oakland County Agreement Renewal Proposal, so we're going to be discussing it at our executive board meeting tomorrow. It'll probably go before our full board within the next 2 months, so we'll be moving forward with that. And the asbestos abatement at 56811 New Hudson Drive has been completed, so we're waiting right now for the demolition of that house to be started. Right now, we're in a holding pattern, waiting for Oakland County to address some septic and well over there. And then our parking lot construction bid will be going before the DDA board tomorrow night, so we're hoping to have that contract awarded, so we can still hopefully get the fall schedule on track. And then we do have a couple of events coming up from the promotions committee on August 9th. This week, Wednesday, we have our last Get Fit on the Grand, which we're really excited about. In Harmony Yoga and Wellness, New Hudson Chiropractic, and Reforming Foundations Pilates will all be taking part. Music on the Grand, we have our last one scheduled for August 16th at Inspiration Park from 6 to 8 p.m. We'll have country music from Austin Scott and food from the Grand Traverse Pie Company food truck again. And then lastly, we have our History on the Grand walking tour, which will be coming up on Friday, October 13th from 6 to 9 p.m. Cost is $25 per person, and we do have the registration link live on our website, which is funonthegrand.com. So that completes my report. Are there any questions?
No, but I will say the music on the Grand is getting bigger. There's a lot of people there. That was really nice, really nice. Okay. Any questions? All right, we're going to move on to fire. Chief, some good stuff in the audience here, I think.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Just an update as far as where we're at through July of this year. We're at 1,102 runs, which is up 86 runs from that time a year ago, which has been pretty consistent all year. Today, the clerk, she informed us also when I brought up the hazmat spill, the glue incident, I think was April, that we did receive full reimbursement for over $8,000, and $4,500 of that will go to the Mutual Aid Association with Oakland County. But that is pretty quick, actually, for a community to get reimbursement, and we've had a string of those in recent years, I'm proud to say. So also tonight we are filled with a few firefighters here that are here to support our 3 newest paid-on-call firefighters. And before tonight's meeting, they were sworn in as paid-on-call firefighters. And I would like to recognize, and I'm going to ask them to stand up. I know you're over here. Robert Uphoff, he just started last week. Andrea Cown. She also has her mother, Deanna, and daughter, Abigail, here. Can you guys stand up? They didn't know that was coming. And then Nathan Westover has completed his probationary requirements with our department, and his wife, Caitlin, and his sons, Ethan and Rowan, are here. They also have 2 sons and a daughter that are busy with sports and things like that. And I would like Nathan to come up, and his wife, Caitlin, is going to pin his badge on him, making a full firefighter, paid on call. I loosened it up. And that concludes this chief's monthly report. Are there any questions?
Now, I do have one announcement I'd like to say. It was about 2 weeks ago, you had a group of firefighters come up to the Township Hall for AED training. And I believe it was Tom, John, Oliver, and then Captain Blades. It was amazing. They did such a wonderful job. The township, all the employees of the township are still raving about how great of training that was. They're very informed, and I wanted to thank you guys for doing that, because the whole place feels safer now. We want to get some of the equipment that we talked about, so we have to have a conversation about that. But great job, man. Great job. You guys did a wonderful job. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, thanks. We're much safer today now. All right, we're going to move on. Sheriff, Lieutenant. Oh, here we go.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Just a couple of quick updates before we get into the meat and potatoes later. I want to keep you all updated on our current state police situation. I know I've brought it up a couple times. I pulled the numbers year to date. We're at approximately 100 calls for service with our deputies up on the freeway. And these calls range in time from 15 minutes to 3 hours. And you know that we budget our staffing and we try to be responsible. And unfortunately, it falls on us when they don't have units available. My main concern is, and I want to knock on wood, that eventually we're going to get into a point to where I have all my staff on the freeway, and you know they're landlocked, right? We get a call on the south end, it may take 20, 30 minutes for us to get people there. So I'm going to continue to work through my commanders, and hopefully we can get a resolution in place for ultimately everyone's safety.
And Lieutenant, we talked also about possible letter, maybe from the township.
Absolutely.
Anything that'll help you get our police back in our township.
Yeah, I would appreciate it. I don't think it will hurt, you know. Again, I'm kind of middle management, so I just can't reach out directly because I'm only a lieutenant. But you guys, you pay the bill, so you have a lot more weight than I do. Next order of business is new radios. Oakland County, we're doing big things. In addition to the body cams, we have these new efficient handheld radios. We're not completely live, but I went through training with this thing, and we were able to talk to another police agency all the way up near Grand Rapids from inside a building in Pontiac. And what makes this important is, you know, law enforcement, the ability to communicate is not always easy. I mean, we have troubles going down in Detroit even. When we get down there, the radios just go dead. So we're really looking forward to these, and we're really excited to have them. That's about it. Oh, at no additional cost to the township, just so you know.
That looks big. That looks pretty big. You'd be hanging on the belt.
Yeah, they're like half the size of our old radios, but they're a lot lighter. But we will be officially live when all the other agencies in our immediate area make the transition as we are. But they said by the end of the year, but we'll see. And I'll let you know how they work out and if we have any issues or concerns. But that concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Anyone?
All right.
All right.
I'll see you later.
Thanks, Lieutenant. We're going to move on to Planning Commission.
All righty. We had 2 meetings in the month of July. The first one was July 10th. We held 3 public hearings. One of the agenda items is on tonight's board meeting, MLS Holdings and asking for rezoning, and that was actually denied. We had the Encore subdivision special land use and site plan together. However, they were lack in meeting their engineering standards, so we really felt they were not ready to come to the Planning Commission, and we also thought that they had 2 lots too many. So they'll have to come back to the Planning Commission with that, so we tabled that. We also had under old business, we had a discussion about private roads and the text amendments, and that needed more discussion, and we requested some examples from Brian's team, and they're going to give that to us. Under new business, we had the Pine View condominium site plan review, and we ended up tabling that also. We needed some more information on that. And then the Heights of Elko was recommended to the Township Board, which is on our agenda tonight. So that concluded that meeting. And then our next meeting was July 24th. It was a pretty short meeting for us. We had no public hearings, but we did have the Pineview condominium site plan review, which was recommended, and that was a CJ. And then the other one was the SPMP Investments Quadrants Unit 8 site plan review, and we did recommend that. And that was it. Oh, and the master plan, the draft is coming soon. Brian promised it to us in the next couple months, so we're looking forward to reviewing that and going over that. So that concludes my report.
Okay, any questions? All right, Lise, ZBA?
We had a meeting on July 17th, and the request was for a variance of 16.5 feet for the side yard setback, and that was unanimously denied. I did also want to comment, I know, John, I called you about it. Catherine DeRocher was at that meeting. I don't know that that's her requirement to attend, but I do appreciate her ability to add in a couple of things to explain. So any opportunity I can, point out that our employees are going above and beyond, I wanted to point that out.
Well, I appreciate that.
And then our August meeting has been canceled because we do not have anything available for the agenda. And that concludes my riveting report.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to the building department. Dave?
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing?
So some of the numbers from this is from the month of June. So we had 16 new single-family residential permits go out, so about right on par for the course. And then we had 30 C of Os, and half of those were probably about half of them were temporary C of Os that are now full C of Os where all the grades are done. There's still a couple of more grades, so that should be done. They'll be done by the 15th of this month. The other things we have going on are some more commercial jobs that are coming in for review right now. So I just got the word on the Hudson Towns today that they want to start dropping off plans for there. They're all ready to go. I understand they've had their meetings and it's ready to go. So we're going to take those. I think they're going like with a phase one. They're going to probably try to phase them in like we've done before. So we'll see how that goes. And then there was a couple other smaller jobs like the Arby's that's going to go on. There's going to be a big remodel job there. So if you're an Arby's fan, you might be disrupted a little bit, but it'll probably be better when it's done. Now, the other one was a pretty big deal is over at Amazon where they're putting in the charging stations. So there's still got to be a lot more discussion before that's going to be allowed to do between DTE, the fire department's got to get involved in that. We got to have some good plans before, because they're planning on 203 charging stations, which is a huge project. I've talked to some other building officials, and they say, oh yeah, they haven't seen anything that big yet, so they're trying it out here. So I don't know how it's going to work as far as letting them go forward and then be set up for it, because we know it's coming, right? It's not going away. So that'll be, above my pay grade to make all those decisions. So anyway, that's about all I got. We're still very busy at the building department. We don't slow down. It just seems coming all the time. So that's it for me.
Any questions for Dave? Okay, I do have to have CES give a small update on the project, and I have to fit her in here.
Thank you. I just wanted to give you all an update on the Tanglewood Road SAD project. So last year, the project under the contract documents was supposed to be completed by the end of 2022. And it became pretty apparent in October that the contractor was not going to meet that deadline. So they continued into 2023. And right now, all of the roads have been paved with the exception of the northern third of Country Club Drive. That section of pavement is significantly worse than anticipated, along with some other areas of the project where additional base repairs and undercuts were necessary due to the condition once we started removing sections of asphalt. We do anticipate the SAD will be over, and I've been working with your treasurer, and we will be bringing updates to the board, but just wanted to give you a brief update. Right now we're estimating about $250,000 over. But at this point, I think it makes sense to finish the project. We're at the tail end, and then have final numbers, but not sure exactly what those proceedings will look like, but wanted you all to be aware. We've been in contact with the HOA board through the duration of the project, so they're well aware of where the financial status of the project has been as we've moved along, but just wanted you to be aware, and there has not been a full notice sent out to the residents yet because we don't know what that final number will be. Okay? So I'll keep you updated as we get more info.
Any questions?
Leslie and I talked to Eric just to go a little farther. So we're looking at all our options. What are our options? So I just want you to know that we've been in discussion with that and figure that out and let you know.
Okay. All right, in the water situation, the good news is the system's completely rebuilt and it's ready to turn back on. I'm not going to allow him to turn that back on until he has somebody there 5 days a week. He wanted to turn it back on Wednesday this week, and we're going to hold off until at least next week. But it's completely rebuilt, ready to turn back on, and I will keep you informed as things go forward. I believe by our next meeting, it's going to be running for about 3 weeks. So just so you know, that's an update. It's coming back now. It's all done and ready to go. So I'm hoping the consumption of the water goes down a little bit before we turn it back on also, to give us a little bit of time to tweak this water situation. And, you know, we're almost there. We're getting very close. Okay, anybody have any questions about that? Okay. All right, well, that concludes our reports. First item of business is a public hearing, and it's for a special assessment roll for general purposes, which we do every year, but I would like, Patty, could you explain it before we open it?
Yes, every year we have delinquencies in the township. It can be for your water, your sewer, it can be when we have to mow the lawns, the things that, yep, whatever we have to take on. We are allowed through the special assessment general purpose roll. We're allowed to roll that on the individual people's taxes. So, we didn't do it last year because Carol got us on the proper sync of the way we're supposed to do it. So we appreciate that, Carol. And so some of the dollar amounts, which Sean mentioned, look a little large, but I think it's really actually for like 1.5 years. So I'm going to check that one out. So that you mentioned to me. So anyway, so that's what it is. We do it every year. It'll be the same time every year. And actually, it's gone down substantially since we started this process. So a lot of people have come in and made their payments, and we're thankful for that. So I always hate to roll it on your tax bill because then the tax bill seems so much higher.
Yeah. So that's kind of an explanation of what the public hearing is about. If you have any comments that you'd like to make about that, this will be your time to do it. So we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing at 7:43 for comment. Okay, seeing no one would like to comment, we're going to close the public hearing at 7:43 and move on. Our unfinished business has been deleted. We're going to move on to new business. First new business is going to be confirming the general purpose roll.
Make a motion to approve Special Assessment Resolution 2023-21, confirming general purpose rolls 23-120 and 23-130.
I'll support that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can I make one more comment about
Sure,
that?
please.
I just want people to understand you can still pay your special assessment off. I won't be rolling this to the winter tax bill, which is November 1st. So we'll be taking them off as people continue to pay along the way. So just to let you know.
Okay. We're going to move on. Consideration and approval for the Sheriff Department request to purchase 5 flock safety cameras. Lieutenant?
Hello again, friends.
How you doing?
Good. All right. Before you, for your consideration and hopefully approval, is a request to purchase 5 flock safety systems cameras. These cameras are license plate readers, which means it doesn't focus on any occupants, or it doesn't have any facial recognition properties. It's purely for the license plate and all the information associated with that vehicle from the Secretary of State and the Law Enforcement Information Network. I think it's a good tool. It's a good investigative tool, and once people figure out we have them, it'll even be a good deterrent. We do have a story from one of our residents involving the flock system. We have a Lyon Township resident who had their identity stolen. The thief used that identity to rent a U-Haul, right? And this is all even before the resident knew their identity had been compromised. So the U-Haul obviously wasn't returned. It was reported stolen down in Warren, Michigan. It drove through an intersection that had the flock camera, and it set off a tripwire, right? The Warren police were able to catch up with a vehicle that was in a gas station. For whatever reason, the suspect tried to run in the U-Haul, so you can figure out how it ended. They caught him, right? He was arrested. We were able to get warrants for his arrest, and then we notified our resident about the theft. So these things are a good investigative tool. Obviously, there's a price associated with that. It's $3,000 per camera per year. Again, I'm not a huge fan of subscriptions, but I think it may be worth it for this because law enforcement is data-driven, and this is the way everything's going. We do have agencies, municipalities within Oakland County that work for us that have these cameras. Rochester Hills, I believe. Highland has them. Farmington Hills has 34. So it's the wave of the future. We're reactive force by design, which means there's a stimulus that happens and then we respond to it. And I don't know, you may not know. Anytime an incident takes place, someone calls 911, right? That call goes to a call taker who extracts the information from the person while keeping them calm and then sends the information to a dispatcher. The dispatcher then relays the information to a patrol officer. They have to acknowledge it over the computer and over the radio, and then that gets them started. So we're, again, 3 to 5 minutes. I believe that this may even shorten our response time because we'll have a hit through the system that a bad guy is in our community before they even know that we know that they're there, right? So then we can start moving to their location or their last reported location in an attempt to catch them. Again, it's definitely right. We just have to decide if this is right for us. Now, I've invited some members from the flock safety systems here to answer any questions you may have that I can't answer. So with that being said, does anyone have any questions for me?
Can I ask you, so these cameras are attached to a pole somewhere. Yes. Now that pole, do we install that, or is it on an existing light pole, or?
We would have to get some permits from DTE or the Road Commission, whomever owns the poles at the locations that we choose. I believe they have a permitting team that will assist us with that.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, and then you're talking about solar? Or if it's a light pole, they have the power?
They are solar powered, and I've been told that it really works out great. They do have power connectivity too. We can connect them to DC as well as solar power. That is an option we can explore to make sure that. But how do they work? I mean, when intermittent clouds, we're still good, right?
Yeah.
Like in the wintertime, we won't have to worry about them going out.
Yeah. All the cameras are winterized, so they have backup batteries.
So the solar panel builds a battery power, and then the battery power runs
Yeah,
the
there's
camera.
a solar control switch, so when you have a day of sun, it recharges the backup batteries in the camera simultaneously. They've been in Michigan this is going to be our 4th winter.
So you're having 5, so it must be expandable if you needed to.
Yes.
You're talking 5 on the freeway, right?
Well, I figure that'd be a good starting point for us. I don't want to put them on the freeway because I know by the time they get to the freeway, they're gone. So I'm thinking southbound Milford near the freeway, right? So we can get that freeway traffic because we have gas stations and we catch bad guys there all the time.
And banks.
Yes.
And the banks.
Yeah, so I want to do southbound Milford, east and west on Lion Center Drive, then southbound Kent Lake, and then east on Grand River. To start, obviously.
Go ahead.
Will these be used just to create a drag net for people who are wanted or license plates that are in the system, or will they be used for traffic enforcement?
Just wanted people. I mean, it'll flag like serious felons, Amber Alert kind of thing, kidnappings, abductions, that kind of thing. I don't think there's a real application for traffic enforcement. We do that all day with our driving around. We still need to be proactive.
And I'm sure that you know that I obey all traffic rules.
Yes,
I don't have to speed or, but if like Chris ran a red light, say, I was driving 10 to 15 over, you wouldn't be flagging his car. And
It wouldn't flag unless he had warrants. Then that's the only way.
I don't know anything about that.
We'll talk about it later.
So
low.
The subscription is $3,000 per year per camera. We're just getting started with 5. So we have the ability after a year to come back here, evaluate kind of how they've done, and change that order. Add cameras, take cameras away, stop completely without penalty if we don't feel that it's really doing what we had thought it might.
Yes, I spoke to the gentleman earlier. They said it's 24 months. So it's if we decided to part ways earlier, there would be a cancellation fee, which is...
It's like $500 per camera to remove it. Yeah.
And he did reassure me that it will be just as easy to remove them as it is to install them if we decide it's not for us.
And you're doing the removal and the install?
Yeah.
With the permitting team? Okay.
So without getting into the weeds, let's say we add these 5 cameras, and in a year you say, hey, this is really great, we want to add 2 more. Every time you add a camera, is that 2 years?
No,
rolling
just
on that
you
camera?
can. It just prorates. So if you wanted to add some, after 6 months, you would just pay 18 months on the extra 2. So we would do an amendment to the contract. You just pay the prorated amount on the new ones.
Okay, so effectively, while this is $3,000 per year for $15,000, we're being asked to spend $30,000 right now over the next 2-year period, or understand that there's a $500 per camera removal fee for early cancellation. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know, would there be any opportunities for a bundle price if we were to add more cameras in the future? Maybe a little discount?
If you do other solutions, sure. But the price does include everything, so the maintenance, so if the cameras ever go down, we come out and replace them at no cost. Cellular.
How quickly does that happen? If a camera goes down right now, right at this moment on a Monday night, how quickly are you out there within 24 hours?
It's generally about a week. We've got 4 technicians in the Detroit metro area. We don't contract anything out, so it's all done in-house.
Okay.
Can I ask a question too? How high are they? Have you had any of them stolen?
No, they're about 12 to 15 feet off the ground. Yeah, and they're in communities like Detroit, Flint, Kalamazoo. Really haven't had any vandalism issues. They don't really look like cameras, like your traditional cameras outside on the building. They look much different. And really you just see a solar panel because it kind of masks the camera. It sits right above it.
And that's a good question, Patty. If they are stolen, what happens? We don't. You just replace it, right? We don't have to buy another one.
Well, I didn't know how tall. From this picture, it's really difficult to see. Are they tall enough where somebody can't steal them?
Oh yeah, that's a 14-foot
criminal.
pole.
I didn't want to be caught. Maybe I'd steal it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's a 14-foot pole, so that's probably about 12, 13 feet off the ground. Yep.
If we want to move a camera, is there a fee for moving a camera?
To move one, yes. Depends on if you install it on an existing pole or our own pole, because we have the option to put our own poles in the right of way. Is it Oakland County maintained roads? Yeah, through the road commission. Yeah. Believe it's $500 to remove it, or to move it if it's on our pole, because we'll have to come out and dig another hole and drop the pole, call 811, all that. Believe it's $150 if it's on an existing pole.
But to that point, Sean, I do believe they have for $3,500, right? Portable cameras.
We do have a portable one that we can ship directly to the sheriff's office, and they can move it around as often as they want. So it comes with a charger, carrying case, different band clamps to attach to any size pole, and you can move it around as often as you want. So if you have a large event, like you mentioned, the concert where a lot of people come and gather, you can put one up there and scan every vehicle coming in. If they got a stolen vehicle hit or felony warrant hit, whatever it might be, that alert goes straight to the sheriff's office.
Is that something you think you would make good use of?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just want to get my foot in the door before it's sprung out.
Well, you didn't come ask the treasurer. He knows how much money you have.
Whoa, not in public, please. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we could work with that.
Well, I mean, would you mix them? I mean, could you do some permanents and then have one that you could take around? Because it sounds like, it sounds like you got to get them pretty close to where they need to be. Do you map that out to know where it needs to be and where
Yeah.
it hits a license plate?
Yeah, we'll
Just-
map out the deployment.
And who does the work on the license plate? It goes to you? So they see it goes through like a computer that hits the
It
license
goes
plate?
through it's connected to the FBI's
Oh.
national database, so when the camera reads the tag, it cross-references that hot list, and if that person's wanted on the National Crime Information Center hot list, which is managed by the FBI, that alert goes to law enforcement.
Wow, that's pretty,
It's
that's
killing
pretty
me.
good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not sick, I just have allergies.
Choked up after you heard that 35, you might get that.
So it's 5,500 for the portable camera per year.
Yes.
So if you think you need 5, I would probably say, if we're gonna, in my opinion, we would add a 6th to make the portable one an option as opposed to taking one of your permanent ones away if you've got them mapped out based on what you
Yes,
told
sir.
me, you've got kind of a game plan.
That's what I was
7?
thinking, exactly.
No, 6 works out great. Yeah.
I feel bad for you right now.
I know, my eyes are,
You're getting emotional, I mean.
I have allergies, they're horrible right now. If I have a portable camera, I would take it down to some of the intersections like Napier and 8 Mile, Pontiac Trail and 8 Mile. And I can move it around to get some different locations squared away.
Yeah, where you might need a permanent one.
Yes.
Is what I'm thinking too.
See, I like the idea of 5 and 1. I think that's good.
What?
Yeah.
The
I
5 and 1,
I was-
I thought that was
I was
good.
just about to say what Patty had said. If you had 5 and then plus 1 of, if we wanted to expand this, well, where would be the most logical place to expand it? And rather than make, just guess, you would at least have some data to drive that selection of the location.
Yes.
And I talked to Les, was it yesterday, I think?
Yes.
And I had asked a couple of questions, and what I like about this, I know it seems like a big price tag, but, people are savvy, and if we can kind of get ahead of a situation instead of only being reactive, if we have several other communities who are kind of getting on board with this, I'd rather be on the beginning side than waiting until, if we lost an opportunity. So I know it's a big price tag, but I kind of like this.
I do too. I think it's a good thing.
Can we ask for periodic updates, quarterly updates on how the cameras are performing, like, as far as how many hits we've had, and, without divulging too
Yes.
much to where it would compromise your enforcement capabilities?
It's all stored in the clouds, correct?
Maybe it could be added on your triannual report.
Great idea.
To throw that as a separate item on there.
I have a tickle right here. Just
I know exactly what you're going through.
I just want to scratch it.
So-
I'm all choked
Feather
up.
in the throat.
Needs a piece of bread.
The report, definitely, I like the report idea. That was going to be one of the things I was going to bring up.
I would do it.
Another question, retention periods. Is that something that is just, you guys set that because it's your database, or is that something we decide?
Yeah, our nationwide best standard or best practice is 30 days. We feel like that's enough time for law enforcement to clear cases and also, have the privacy element for the public. It's not rotating forever.
And I guess similarly along that line, I saw use by a bunch of other municipal departments around us, and I believe the state police. But do any other Oakland County Sheriff Office locations have this yet?
I believe Highland does, Rochester Hills, and
Yeah, there's a whole little thing.
Pontiac.
yeah.
Okay.
Southfield also has them, and some other non-sheriff's office.
And then,
County.
yeah, I guess we can look at this, but I've seen some of the stories that I was reading about communities that have recently launched into this, mention, some reviews around, coming up with policies around, what are the situations they're going to use these, or, when shouldn't they use them? And so I guess my question back to, Les, just to kind of run it back up the,
here we go.
up the chain. You don't have to talk back right now, but
Let me clear that.
just to run it back up and see like, okay, is the sheriff's office working on some policy around these if a couple groups are now having them, and if not, just kind of maybe say, hey, should we have something like that?
Yeah.
And
You already have a policy.
Yeah, we do. We have a
we
point
don't-
of
there is-
contact.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Yeah.
And then, I guess, noticing the 3,000, some of the other articles had mentioned rates, and they were lower than that, so I assume you've raised rates recently.
We did, yeah, back on April 1st, which was the first time.
Okay.
We've done that in probably 3 years.
Okay, so is there anything in, when we're agreeing to these cameras for this 2-year period, I assume obviously the rate won't go up during those 2 years.
It will not.
Is there any sort of protection around if we wanted to add additional cameras during that period, or renewals? How does that work?
Yeah, as long as it's within your term, you could add them at the existing
same
rate.
okay.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody good? Anyone want to make a motion for these?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 5 flock safety cameras to cover the intersections per our lieutenant's suggestion and recommendation, and to add an additional portable flock safety camera for the term of 2 years per the contract. That's mine.
Okay.
Support.
We have a motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Get them up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. All right, we're going to move on. Consideration of heights at Elko Farms Plan Development Minor Amendment. Brian?
Thank you, John. Up for discussion this evening is a proposed request to modify the plan development for the Elko Farms plan development. This is Heights of Elko, which is entering its, I believe, 6th phase. Is that correct? As part of that project, which is the last phase. The current plan development agreement, similar to the other projects that are encompassed in this PD, has some architectural standards that are proposed to be modified. This particular proposal would allow elevations that are the prairie style, that you have hard copies of the images in front of you this evening. If a homeowner were to choose that style, they would still be required to have a minimum of 3 feet of stone or brick around the entire structure as it is today, but instead of brick or stone on the front, there could be some alternate materials. Then along the same lines, for that prairie elevation, the roof pitches get lower. In the PD today, all roof pitches are required to be a 612 pitch. These would go down to I didn't write it, 412, 312, thank you. Changes like this are considered minor per the plan development agreement, so the Planning Commission reviews them and the Township Board has the final say. Patty alluded to this earlier. The Planning Commission reviewed it at their July 10th meeting and recommended approval of the modifications. We have no objection to the modification as it's largely subjective, so we look forward to your consideration this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. It seems pretty simple. I'm not a fan of all brick face buildings. I'm just not. I like when they mix them up and make them look like this. The pitch of the roof, that's a little different, but I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. But go ahead. Anyone have any questions? I know the applicant's here. I can answer any questions.
Quick question. So this neighborhood began almost 20 years ago. It's not normal that it takes 18 years to finish a neighborhood.
It
And it's
is?
not that big of a neighborhood. I was the second house in that neighborhood 18
remember.
years ago. For the record, I don't live in the neighborhood anymore, but there's a lot of great people who live there, and I'm wondering if you've asked them what they think, because there's a drastic departure between what you're offering now and what is a stone's throw away. Been there, actually the majority of the neighborhood's been there for a very long time. So, normally these minor modifications aren't a big deal if a neighborhood goes on for a normal period of time. 5 years, 7 years, something like that. This has gone on for almost 20 years, and while I don't necessarily object to making changes that allow you, through your marketing, to sell homes, to actually finish this neighborhood before it gets to 20 years of development, I just kind of am concerned about the existing neighbors and how they feel about these changes, because, like I said, what went in there 18 years ago was very nice, and it's still very nice, but it doesn't look a lot like, it doesn't, the standards don't all match. And, you can stand in a spot and see both. It's not like it's way in the back and no one, how have you heard any feedback? Have the neighbors said anything to you, Brian?
The only question I got was a question about whether or not this elevation would allow front-facing garages, which it would not. All of these would still be required to have a side-facing garage, but that was the only comment that I heard from the public.
Okay. I just wondered, and this, I'm not picking on you.
No,
You
that's
start
all
the
right.
neighborhood, and there have been a couple other developers and builders in the time that it started, from the time it started to now.
Yeah.
And we've got, they're kind of, it maybe isn't fair, during that 18-year period, there was kind of a serious downturn and everybody stopped.
A lot's happened in the last 18 years.
Right. But this is really not an issue just for this request. I guess it's for others. I wonder if, as a policy, if we want to, touch base. There's no public hearing notice. This is a minor amendment, but...
Just to add, you can't go back and, we're not going to build houses like we built them 20 years ago.
That's right.
I think the way they've evolved is for various reasons. They're easier to maintain. I think architecturally, they continue to change over the years, and that's just the nature of home building. I don't think this roof pitch in particular really changes what we're already building out there that much. If you look at the two side by side, because the pictures that I gave you guys were what we're building out there now, and then the one of the same house with just a different roof pitch. So if you look at them side by side, they're pretty similar.
I don't think
so
they're similar at all.
You don't think so?
No.
I don't think they're a major departure.
Yeah,
departure.
I think they.
Okay, and it's kind of what Brian said. It's objective.
I'm not objecting, because like everything else that comes through this board, it's preference.
Yeah.
We all live in different
and that's
places,
why
and we all choose what we want, and that's great that people have choice. I just, the people who are in this neighborhood and the handful of others that are in a similar situation with timing don't get to necessarily have a say, and I'm not saying that they would object. I just didn't know if there was any feedback.
No, there hasn't been any feedback in that respect. But then again, we haven't started building these in there anyways, because that's why we're here, because we haven't built them yet. But I think your bigger picture, you're talking about new houses versus old houses, and whether it's this particular prairie style house versus the other ones that we're offering, they're going to look different than 20-year-old houses just by their nature.
I think the decision we have to make, without prolonging what something that's very minor, is where there's a break point, where there's a point where you say, from this point on, you can't do it, because now it's intermingled and it's going to create inconsistency, because out of fairness to the people and for equity purposes, there's still houses that you can build that are in your portfolio that are a lot more similar to what's out there now than some of these others. So that is in my mind to tell you you can't maybe make some changes that are reasonable. But some of these are pretty big departure, like for roof pitch, things like that we just do not see in our community. But it's out there. It's
so the feedback we've gotten, the reason we're doing this is that's the feedback we've gotten. That we have people telling us time and because we have some of these built in other neighborhoods, we hear time and time again how much they like the prairie style. So the feedback that we have received has been very, very positive on this, which is why we're going through the brain damage of coming here to do a minor amendment, 2 meetings and everything else to ask this, because that is what we're hearing from people who are buying houses. So from that perspective, yes, I have heard, we have received comment. So.
Okay. And Patty, you said the Planning Commission was supportive of this, correct?
They were, but there were a few people that said they didn't really care for it.
It's subjective.
I have to tell you, I love houses, but I don't like.
You don't like? Oh, I like this one. I actually like the prairie
I
style.
don't know. I'd have to maybe see one in.
Windridge models
is a
prairie.
Just doesn't catch my eye. But again, just because I don't like it doesn't mean
it's subjective. I know it's subjective. I'm doing this in multiple communities because I'm getting beat down about this because we've recently done some test marketing or tests with potential buyers, and they went through and they're showing them different houses and they kept picking the prairie. So that's what I can tell you from that.
Is there a difference between the cost? If somebody said, hey, I want the traditional, is that more expensive than the prairie style?
I believe the traditional costs more to build.
Okay, so that's a factor, right?
I'm not 100% though. I remember hearing that conversation. I won't say that for sure, but it is, because there's less roof.
My reason for asking that is if
Yeah.
you offered both,
Yeah.
right, and the price was the same,
Right.
then they would choose, right?
Yeah.
But you're more about the existing.
Yeah,
And I get
doubt
that.
that they're going to give a drastic discount for the
Yeah, it's
prairie
not
style
gonna- yeah.
elevation. It's going to be cheaper from the building, they're going to charge more for it.
Possibly.
Right. So,
I don't know.
Just so
I don't
everyone's
know.
feeling
I'm not on that end of it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know that end of it.
Or
But
would
I
they be
understand.
the same, right? Same cost to get one or the other, who knows?
Is
Yeah.
the intent to, if this goes through, to switch over all of the ones you're now building to
No.
Prairie, or they'll be mixed?
No, it'll be mixed. Again, it's client driven.
Okay.
And not all, so we only offer that Prairie in four elevations. So depending on the lot size, that all depends too. They may like the Prairie and they may, pick the lot that won't fit Prairie, so they'll go with a different one too. So you're not gonna see a whole row of Prairie because
Okay,
they
so it's
probably
not
aren't
just
gonna
going to be
fit.
this, all of a sudden we have all this and then
Right.
all that, stark contrast.
Right, yeah, just like every one of our neighbor, I mean, I think in this particular, we're offering 5 or 6 different elevations with 5 or 6 different, things you can add on or take off, and Prairie is just one of them on 4 of the houses.
Is with the different roof pitch, is the overall height of the house then going to be shorter than the other ones then?
No, it's
Or
the same.
Or is you doing taller ceilings to recoup that, or?
No, it's actually essentially the same. The only thing is you see more of the second floor elevation is what it is, a little bit. But no, the height's the same, everything's the same inside.
I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
So you said that you have these prairie-style homes in other communities, and
Correct.
you have this style. It occurs to me that there's something off 11 Mile. Like, is it by the War Dog Memorial?
Yeah, it's Crystal Creek South.
Okay. No, is that you guys, or is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if we have one of those style, but we might.
Okay.
Is it Brian?
Yeah.
Do you know better than I do?
All right.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to confirm that, because I've seen them. Patty, I would agree. I don't personally.
Yeah, it's not your
care
taste.
for it, but
I know.
Obviously, what someone might look at my little ranch-style home and say,
Yeah.
"What are you doing?"
I know. I'm a ranch person too, so I get it. Yeah.
So I understand that different people will have different interests in style. It is absolutely subjective. So I'm not going to say that my comments are really guided toward whether I like it or not. I do have a question though.
Sure.
So phase 3, I'm looking at this. Is that the only place? Gosh, Les, you just gave me.
Are you guys getting all choked up?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Thanks a lot, man. Are these the only locations that this could be available?
It's phase 6 is what we're moving forward on. I think phase 3 is almost done, if not completely done yet.
I think it's done.
I think it's done
So
too.
where-
I think 6 is what we're opening up right now.
Which is the last phase.
It's the last phase. So maybe after 20 years. Yeah.
So I guess my issue is, I do not at all like having these two drastically different styles within the same neighborhood. And although it seems like it is considered a minor amendment, I think that, to Sean's point, it's a completely different feel to a neighborhood. I know that when some people are looking for a home, they're going to drive through the neighborhood and they're going to get a feel for it. And they're going to like, well, this one's more traditional. I want to be in this neighborhood with this look. And to see some of these newer styles in that same existing neighborhood, I think that it is a really, I do not think it is a good idea to have those two different styles and then not have any kind of control, because it is possible that you could have a whole slew of these right next to each other. There's no saying that it couldn't happen, but then you're right next to maybe a whole bank of traditional homes. I go back, I grew up in Troy, and I go back to my parents' neighborhood, and you can absolutely tell the difference when the style where the builder switched, and it just looks discordant. So
no, I disagree with you a little bit, because we're still going to be using the same color palettes. We're going to be using the same materials. There may be more brick or stone on one or more. I don't feel like they're going to look, you're not going to go, for instance, like if you're in Warren, and you drive down a street and there's 15 ranches in a row, and then there's the one person who built the two-story. And I get that, you're kind of like, oh, that's a little different. This isn't going to be that different. I mean, they're still going to be all, like I said, the same color palettes, the same material, the same stone, the same brick that we're using on neighboring houses and everything else.
So
it's just going to have a different roof pitch on it.
So I would say then to that comment, I'm looking right at these. There is no mistaking that these are two different styles. It doesn't matter that the color palette's the same. These are two very different styles. And my point is, you yourself have just said that when you've had these test runs with different individuals.
People, because they like the roof pitch.
Right, so
yeah.
there's a very different look to it. If they didn't, if you showed them these two homes, you said yourself that this is what's driving the decision, that
Right.
this is what people want.
Right.
So clearly they want that look to that house. So
Yeah.
I'm now saying that that look to that house is very different than the look that is of the traditional, because it is.
Okay.
And I find that to be discordant
Okay.
if you're all in one neighborhood. So if you have an entire neighborhood that has a particular look and a particular feel.
Which I don't think this neighborhood definitely, not necessarily does anyways, because as Mr. O'Neill pointed out, that
Well, when you have all of them from the same traditional house choices,
Okay.
like you open up the catalog and you say these are the elevations that you can choose from, then that's what they're choosing from. This is a different style.
Okay,
To the
true.
point where I can drive down and not even know the name of the development, but I can say, hey, there's this house near the War Dog Memorial, because this is a very different look home that I haven't seen before.
So I would also tell you to go, so Windridge, which is not far from here either, is, our model home is this style. And then you can look, you can see multiple houses standing at the model. And it's still a cohesive look, again, because to me, it's the materials and the color palette and those type of things that kind of tie it more together than necessarily a roof pitch or anything like that. I do agree that people pick it, but I think people pick it for whatever reason they're going to pick it.
Right. I'm just
But-
saying that you yourself have said that when you
Yeah.
put these side by side, people are looking at that and they say this is the
right.
look that they want. And so when I
But I don't know that
respond by
it varies that differently because,
Oh,
again, the materials and the colors and everything else are very similar.
I
but-
respect that. I feel like this is a very different
Okay.
feel to the neighborhood, and I appreciate that this is a style that some people would choose to have. And I think that we have an opportunity, a resident has an opportunity to live in Lyon Township and select this particular home in just perhaps a different subdivision. But I think that to change something that is almost done, as Sean mentioned, almost 20 years, and then have something that is a newer style, I think it takes away from the existing neighborhood.
Okay.
So I do not support this minor change due to the age of this development and the change to the overall style and feel within that neighborhood.
Okay.
But they can go across the street and get the same house, so that's all right.
We're talking about different price points though too. So this is a different price point than what we offer in some of our other neighborhoods. This is a little bit lower price point. Speaking to what Mr. Dolan had said too, Mr. Dolan had said that. So yeah, if you're looking at Heights of Elko, you're not going to buy in Windridge. So
I'm ready to make a motion.
that's it.
Is everybody else done? I make a motion to approve AP-23-42, Heights at Elko Farms Plan Development Minor Amendment requested for modifications to the architectural design guidelines as submitted in the McKenna letter dated July 17th and recommended by the Planning Commission.
Okay, we have a motion. Anyone want to support?
I'll support.
Motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
No.
We have two. Okay.
Is Lisa
Thank
and
you.
Sean?
Lisa, Sean, both of you? Okay.
Correct.
Can I ask one brief process then for future reference on these? Just, when there's a minor amendment to an existing plan development, do we send notice to those residents?
No.
Okay, is that something we can look at, like if maybe, Brian, if you can like see, like maybe do other communities do something like that? Because just to the point about, did the existing residents have an opinion? I'm just curious. I'm not saying we have to, but.
Yeah, no, it's not typically done, and it is expensive.
Okay.
Okay, you good? All right, we're going to move on to the consideration of MLS Holding rezoning, AP 2337. Brian?
Okay, thank you, John. Up for consideration this evening is a rezoning application concerning a property along Pontiac Trail, west of the airport. The current property is zoned R03, single-family residential, and the proposal is for B3 General Business District on this property. So everything around the property is zoned single-family residential with the exception of the property immediately to the east, which is under a consent judgment. You have our report dated July 20th, and within that we find, without getting into specific detail, we find that many of the many of the rezoning criteria are not met. Specifically, we have concerns that the proposal is not supported in any way by the future land use plan in the master plan, which calls for single-family, low-density residential uses in the area. I mentioned the current land use pattern is single-family, low-density residential that would be negatively impacted by commercial development next door. We don't believe that there's a need-based argument to rezone this property, as there are many vacant commercially zoned properties in the northern third of the township already. We believe that a rezoning of this property would grant special privileges to the subject property that aren't consistent with how we've applied the zoning ordinance and the future land use plan in this area. We believe that it would set an inappropriate precedent for rezoning of residential property to allow commercial uses in the middle of established or planned single-family homes. And we also find that it's reasonable to develop the property as it's currently zoned. One of the arguments that was presented at the public hearing was that there's a easement that runs north-south through this property that limits its commercial viability, and limits its residential viability. I'm of the opinion one of the criteria of your rezoning is whether or not all of the standards of development for the planned or the proposed zone could be met. And while I think that some of the dimensional standards of the B3 zoning district could be met, we have pretty strict buffering standards between residential and commercial uses. And from a practical standpoint, if a road is going north-south through this property, to be able to provide an adequate buffer from the Roediger Estates properties and fit a commercial building in here, I don't think that it's feasible. So I think from a practical standpoint, it's not feasible to develop commercial uses on this project. I will say the Planning Commission held their public hearing at its July 10th meeting, and we heard several residents in the vicinity who voiced their opposition to the project, citing environmental concerns, concerns about the character change, noise and lighting, and stormwater management concerns. The Planning Commission heard these comments and consultant reviews and ultimately denied or recommended denial of the proposed rezoning to the Township Board. The other clarification that I would like to make is that there was some discussion about this project being a conditional rezoning that was brought up at the meeting, and ultimately it's our position that if the intended application was really to be a conditional rezoning, several things were incorrect and that this rezoning should be pulled by the applicant. And the reason that I say that is, first of all, the township has separate applications for a rezoning versus a conditional rezoning. Those separate applications lead to completely different processes that are defined in our ordinance. So, for example, for conditional rezonings, we require a mandatory pre-application meeting, which didn't take place. We require a little bit more information be submitted as part of that request, none of which were done. And then finally, the public notices that were distributed for this project all were in reference to a traditional rezoning, not a conditional rezoning, so we don't think it was adequately noticed for the conditional rezoning. So for those reasons, we should either process this as a traditional rezoning that was applied for, or the project should be pulled by the applicant and no decision should be made by the board. So that's where we're at today. Ultimately, we believe that it's appropriate to deny this rezoning, subject to all the findings in our letter and the recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Anybody have any questions for Brian? Okay. Well, what do you want to do?
Is the applicant giving any kind of a presentation, or are we just going to take action?
They are here this evening, yes.
Do you want to come up?
Sure. Well, you guys are in a generous mood, but I don't think it's going to carry over. But anyway, good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board.
Good evening.
Tom Callis. I'm here for the applicant, MLS Holdings, LLC. My address is 31350 Telegraph Road, Suite 201, and that's Bingham Farms, Michigan. As Mr. Kesey indicated, we're here this evening for a rezoning of approximately 8.9 acres on the south side of Pontiac Trail, as you can see from the aerial. The address is 58801. Now, we've asked for a traditional rezoning. We did state the intended use was for storage, similar to, or the similar type use that you've allowed on the property to the east of us with a recently approved consent judgment. What we have here is a piece of property that is very difficult, if not impossible, to develop under its current residential zoning for minimum 90-foot wide lots. And I believe they're 15,000 square foot minimum size. As you can see, we've got the issue of the storage units to the west or east of us. We have the airport, the Oakland Southwest Airport to the east of us. We are directly in the runway protection zone. We have a flight path pattern there. We have noise. We have just dangerous conditions. There's been planes that have crashed recently in residential areas. So to take this piece of property when you have so many other parcels in the township that are zoned and planned for single-family residential and indicate that this has to be developed under its current zoning just doesn't make sense, and quite frankly is irresponsible. It's dangerous. It's not marketable. There's no way we're going to be able to sell 90-foot lots on this piece of property, considering all the detrimental effects around us, the airport, the property to the west, or to the east, I'm sorry. So what we're asking is for a rezoning to the B3 district, which allows as a permitted use the self-storage use. And that's what we're intending. We did not submit under conditional zoning because that requires site plans and all kinds of other detail that we quite frankly just don't have right now. But we can go on record saying that the intended use is for a storage facility. So with that being said, any questions, I'm here to answer. Obviously, we disagree with the planning recommendation or the planner's recommendation and the Planning Commission recommendation for denial. This is a very, very difficult piece to market and sell for single-family residential. And for those reasons, it's not economically feasible, it's not marketable. This is classic rezoning, and we would ask for the Township Board's approval of the rezoning request.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I have a question for Mr. Callis. You had mentioned just a moment ago that you hadn't done much in the way of engineering yet.
As far as formal.
Fair to say. So you've done no test fit of residential lots on this property?
We've looked at different layouts. We have. And can you get residential lots on there? You can. The problem is they're not marketable. They're not feasible. No one's going to come and buy a house on a 90-foot lot. These are 15,000 square foot lots. To build even a 3,000 square foot house today, you're looking at $700,000, $650,000 base price. That doesn't include landscaping, basements, finished basements, decks, okay? You cannot, my client's got decades of experience in the area. I have decades of experience representing developers, builders all over the state. There is no way that you can build and market homes on 90-foot lots on this piece of property with storage to the east an airport runway. Oakland Aviation, and this, based on my reading of information, they are against any type of residential on that property. Now, I think Carol indicated that they're against any type of development at all on that property due to its proximity to the airport. But definitely, and they've stated on the record, I believe they've sent letters on the prior rezoning that took place over there for the Wyatt property, that they are against any type of single-family residential on this property, which makes sense, considering the proximity of the airport.
Okay, Mr. Kells, how long ago did your clients buy this property? How long have they owned it?
They purchased the property in July 2015, 8 years ago.
Okay. I mean, I haven't seen an application, and I've been here during that period of time, so I was just wondering why, if this was zoned and master planned and surrounded primarily by residential, they purchased it, not 40 years ago, but 8 years ago, with a feeling that it could never be developed the way it's zoned and the way it's master planned and the way it's surrounded, which seems unique to me. Usually people don't buy property, I mean, it's up to them to make a statement.
Yeah.
Usually don't come and buy property unless they intend to develop it that way, unless they've come to us first. So I think it's kind of strange how this is coming in an odd way to us, so I'll say that. But I think I just heard our professional say to us that he believes that it's, even if this were to meet the test for rezoning, which it clearly doesn't, this is actually one of the most efficient applications for rezoning that I've ever seen. He's saying that even if it were prime commercial property, which it is not, you would have challenges given all the factors that he covered in his review. And I guess you'd mentioned $700,000 homes. There's a lot of really nice homes next door. Maybe they're not $700,000 homes, but you've got a lot of experience, as you mentioned.
Right.
You know that every property is not worth millions and millions of dollars. Some properties are more prime than others. Some are more suited for development for a myriad of reasons: topography, soil conditions, configuration, more so than others at a distance. And I'm no wetland scientist, but I can look at an aerial and see what I could see. And so we'd be looking at the middle or the north end of this property for residential development anyway. And 90-foot wide lots. I don't think that that's our smallest lot size. What's our smallest lot size that we allow? I'm just saying
off the top of my head. I mean,
I think
we've allowed a lot smaller in PDs.
In a PUD, yeah.
Recently.
Sure. So I think, I guess where I'm going is creative use of this property for its intended zoning and master plan of residential seems like, certainly possible. Maybe not what your clients are asking for, but our job isn't to give your client what they're asking for. Our job is to follow the zoning ordinance and follow the master plan.
Right.
So I just wanted to ask those questions and, I guess support the letter of recommendation and the recommendation of the Planning Commission, at least in my comments, that this is really an out-of-line request for the reasons stated in the letter and a lot of the reasons and comments that I've made in our discussion tonight.
Well, the other factor, you have a easement, and again, it's a recorded easement. It was never disclosed when my client purchased the property. It was not on the title work.
I was going to ask about that because the easement was from 2004.
Right.
And you said it was acquired in 2015.
It was never disclosed on the title work, and the claim has been dealt with the title company. So you're going to have a road that my client's going to be forced to build that connects to the property to the east, which is storage facilities. Okay, so that's another detriment. Are you going to go buy a lot in this property when you have an airport right there, airport runway? You've got a flight pattern, you've got noise, you have storage facilities connecting to your subdivision. Those cars are going to be driving in and out through your subdivision to get to Pontiac Trail.
I see dozens of homes adjacent to it, and those are nice homes.
I believe those homes have been there before the airport.
Oh, I don't think they were there before the airport.
Oh, no, that's not true.
Okay, and they're further away. They're further away, and your master plan, although it's master plan for residential, never took into consideration back in 2015 the airport and any plans for expansion of the airport or location of the airport. So
I don't know that that's true. You're stating it, but I don't know that that's true. And I'll also say the flip side of that is you're asking all the people who have been there to then support the township rezoning it to something that it was never supposed to be. So
Well,
if they bought the house 40 years ago, it was never supposed to be anything other than
That's the
residential.
whole point of a rezoning, so.
Sure, but it's also the whole point of master planning, so someone who invests in a community knows what's going to be around them for many years to come. So I think you can understand that I think the flip of what you're
sure,
saying
respectfully.
is then being unfair to all the people
I
who are
understand.
there, who
I
you want
understand.
to just push a commercial development in the middle of because it's just not a big deal, but it is a big deal.
No, I totally understand.
I grow weary, and we brought this up, with this other neighborhood discussion with the Lombardo homes. Everybody's going to have a choice as to where they want to live. And there are people in this who maybe work in this community who cannot afford a $700,000 home. So if there were a small starter home that were to be in that location, and I mean, the people who are already on Anna Drive and on Albert Lane and on Road Digger Court, those are nice homes there. So to dismiss, and it feels like that, I'm probably expecting that you did not intend for that, but to dismiss the people who have lived in these smaller homes to say like, well, nobody's going to want to live there. Well, those people who live in that neighborhood want to live there, and they're not that far from your property, which also, by the way, has a stub road on Anna Drive, so clearly the intent for everybody in that neighborhood was, oh yeah, there's going to be residential to the east. So for you to make comments that, well, who would want to live there? It seems a little bit offensive because I maybe would want to live there if I couldn't afford a $700,000 home. I live in a small ranch that is in the flight path, not at the end of the runway, but I live close to the airport. There are lots of houses that live close to the airport. So I find your words to be perhaps not crafted as kindly as it would be intended. But everybody in that neighborhood knows, since Anna Drive is a stub road into vacant property, everyone there was expecting that there was going to be residential, not to have storage facility.
And again, no disrespect, and it's not who would want to live there. The problem you have is you have minimum 90-foot lots.
We've already just talked about how we've addressed that predicament.
If you give me 60-foot lots, which your township doesn't allow, we'll put small houses, starter homes, but we're not going to put starter homes.
Have you had that discussion?
On 90-foot lots.
Have you had that discussion?
I've not seen anything on this property come through.
It's just,
I think
It's not allowed. Your ordinance doesn't allow it. They don't allow 60-foot lots.
The ordinance and master plan doesn't support what you're asking us to do tonight, but you're still asking us to do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole purpose of a rezoning.
Well, we're having some dialogue. It's the whole purpose of someone asking the township to engage in a PD.
Master plans aren't, they're looking to the future. They're not always accurate.
Oh, I know very well what a master plan is.
Right. Every municipality deals with rezonings. You go into rezone because you're not planned or zoned for what you want. I mean, that's just zoning law.
Sure, but you're asking us to basically approve a spot zone.
It's not a spot zone. You have storage right next to us.
By a consent judgment that was settled, and that doesn't necessarily, vest any right of this property to move ahead and say, claim that it has B3 capability.
No, but it's
That's a real stretch.
It's a use that'll be there.
I saw the list.
So.
Yeah, there's a whole list of reasons why this doesn't meet the test.
Yeah, Brian did a good job.
And I think I have to point out, although he is discussing warehouses, the application is for B3 zoning. If you were to approve it, they could build anything that would be permitted in the B3 zoning. They would not be bound to only doing warehouses, so you can't consider that in making your decision.
I think that, Patty, I know that we've had that discussion too, like the CVS is a perfect example, that somebody comes in, intends to have this, they say lots of things.
That's exactly right, Lisa.
And I always think about the CVS incident by, what was it? It was supposed to be like the farm store or something.
It was the farm store, yep.
So you can tell us all day long that this is your intent, but as our attorney has just stated, you can do, if it is not a conditional rezone, you can do whatever is in that.
Right.
And that's not fair to the existing residents, and it is not appropriate.
No, I understand. You can come in and put whatever B3 use is there, but what we're telling you, the intended use is storage.
Well, what they told the board at the time was that it was not going to be a CVS at Pontiac Trail and Pontiac Trail, and now we have a CVS that maybe I frequent too often. But,
It's convenient, right?
and that was not, it was supposed to be a little bakery.
That's right.
But I just, I think you know that this is not appropriate.
I respect your comments.
All right, well, I think that most of us here, and I'm not going to speak for everyone, but really don't see this as a feasible option.
Well, John, I'll move this along to a motion, if that's the direction you're going. I'll make a motion in the case of AP 23-37 to deny the request of MLS Holdings citing the action of the Planning Commission, the 6 points found in the July 20th, 2023 letter of McKenna, and all the discussion that's taken place tonight.
I'll support.
All right, we have a motion for denial and a support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on. Consideration of contract award for Dolly Road water main. Leslie, you want to
Okay.
explain to this a little bit?
Yep, the project, the design has been completed. We do have all permits. We did receive the Act 399 permit since writing the letter. We've publicly bid the project, and we received 7 bids. The low bid was submitted by Superior Excavating in the amount of $240,311.30. We have worked with Superior Excavating on numerous projects. We also checked their references, and everything was excellent. So I am happy to make the recommendation of award to Superior Excavating in the amount of $240,311.30. I also would recommend the township budget a 20% contingencies for anything unforeseen during the field or during construction, which would take the total construction budget to $288,373.26. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Oh, they're definitely the low price, quite a bit.
There's no discussion. I'm ready to make a motion. Good. I'll make a motion to accept the Dolly Road water main recommendation of the contract award to Superior Excavating Incorporated with the bid price of $240,311.30, including an additional contingency of $48,062.26 for a total budget construction of $288,373.26.
I'll support.
All right, we have a motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Done. All right, the next one is a consideration to rescind the approval of the agreement with South Lyons Schools for the senior services, and I think that's because we're not quite there yet. We jumped the ball a little bit.
The 3 communities have reached an agreement as to the language for the actual agreement, but subsequently there were some objections raised by the school. So what I'd like you to do at this time is just rescind the agreement that we approved. We're going to be revising to address the school's concerns.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now we have an
John,
ordinance.
I just wanted to know, Carol, do you have any expectation as to when that might be coming?
I don't know, John, you and Paul and Mark were going to meet and discuss it.
We're going to meet. We're not quite there yet.
Okay.
We've had a few more conversations to have, and I'm thinking probably after Thursday.
Okay.
Okay? About Thursday, we're going to have a meeting and we'll talk about it.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on. Consideration adoption of ordinance 04-23 for Charter Township to amend the sections 4446 of Chapter 4 Alcoholic Liquor of Charter Township Code of Ordinance to clarify license requirements, application procedures, qualifications for insurance, transfer, relocation, and renewal of liquor license. Carol, is this something that you want to talk about?
Well, Amy had put a memo together that highlighted the changes that were made, but I think probably the most significant reason that we decided to amend this yet again is to make it perfectly clear that with respect to a license transfer, that they must come to the township first before going to the MLCC. And in the course of making those changes, we sort of firmed that language up throughout and then tweaked a couple other things here and there.
Which is super important,
Yeah.
because we missed it the last one.
Yeah, it was there before, but it was there in a way that was kind of hidden, I think, so we made it clearer.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion to move that
Actually,
along?
I had one comment on it. I guess
Go
in section B, which I think is it's the investigation section, it strikes out the police and fire department and various other departments. I would like to see the police at least at a minimum in there, and probably the fire department as well, to be part of the investigation.
Where are you? Because I think if you're talking about, what we did is referred to the administrative committee, correct?
Correct, that's what we
And
did.
they're part of the admin committee.
The intention was to help streamline the process rather than having to track down an individual from each department and have them submit it, send it back to me, submit it to them, send back to me, that we would take it before the admin committee, which, as Carol said, has a representative from each of those departments. And the police, the sheriff's department still has to do all the required background checks too, so they are seeing every application.
So that's what we have been historically doing, rather than sending it around, we bring it to admin.
So then I guess does that committee need to be defined within this particular ordinance then, so it is clear that, the administrative committee is,
We can do that, we can add a definition.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay. Anything else?
Can I ask to have a space put in? You guys laugh. What
You
page?
teach math, right?
Page 4,
Yeah, page number.
section C, the third line down in
Wait a
red.
second, wait a second.
Where it
Other
says other
departments.
departments. Did you put a space there?
Page 4, section
C.
Item C, the third line down in red, where it says other departments.
the red line.
Pardon?
Clean one might say it.
I was
Oh,
looking at the clean one.
clean
Oh.
one looks fine.
That's weird.
Oh, it does? Oh, okay, well then,
Oh,
never mind.
Okay.
Okay.
I always look at it first. You want to make a motion so you can add your sentence or whatever you like.
Okay, I'll make a motion to consider the adoption of ordinance number 04-23 to amend sections 4-4 and 4-6 of chapter 4 alcoholic liquor of the Charter Township of Lyon Code of Ordinances to clarify license requirements and application procedures and qualifications for insurance, transfer, relocation, and renewal of liquor licenses with the addition of a definition of the who is within the administrative committee.
Okay.
I'll support.
Okay, motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move on to the consideration of adoption 5-23 to amend the township's code for sidewalks, other public places, construction of bike paths, sidewalks, establish minimum standards and specifications for construction and maintenance of bicycle, cycle paths, and sidewalks, and provide penalties for violation. Okay, so, want to get a look at that? I'm sure there's going to be some questions on this one.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely, go
Would
ahead.
the motion on the last one would have been to move it to second reading? Or
Yes, move to second
Because
reading.
was that how the motion was made?
Well, he read it, no, he read the ordinance off of it.
Yeah, we should have
Was
moved
it
it
to
to
approve?
I don't, usually it's introduction and adoption as opposed to...
Right.
So this is
And he
adoption.
wanted to add the definition of the admin team.
Okay, so that's going to second reading.
motion, Second
Yeah,
reading.
both of these will be
On the
that.
last one?
Yeah, the
No,
liquor.
both of these, they haven't had an introduction yet. This would be the introduction, this is consideration of adoption.
Oh, that's right.
Wasn't this introduced before?
No.
I don't think so.
Should have been, so we'll correct the agenda to read
It's not here.
introduction of.
Okay.
No.
Well, should we make a motion to, at this point, just clean up
Move
the... Pardon?
To move it.
I was going to say to just amend, now that we've discovered that it says adoption not introduction, should we move the amendment? Is that out of order?
No, go ahead.
I mean, I'll make a motion now in the items new business G and H to change the adoption, the word adoption in the first line to introduction, because these are both first readings.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay.
I do amend motion then? Yeah, then I'll move to amend previous.
You could just amend
or-
your motion by changing the word adoption to introduction if you want to not read everything.
Well, it's a nice paragraph.
Move it to second reading.
Yeah, I'll amend my motion to change the word adoption to introduction.
There you go. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a second?
Yes, second. I'm
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Let's go to the bicycle pass.
Gotta have this.
And this is an introduction.
Yes.
Sean.
I
got it. It's good. Okay. Anybody want to start the questions? If not,
Sure.
make a motion.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I was going to let somebody go first, but all right. So let's see. I can follow up Brian or Carol on any particular wording, but generally speaking, 4033 talks about instead of construction, the applicant choosing to place the funds. Talking about maybe changing that to places the funds to make it a little clearer that it's not just, they don't just get to choose, they have to go through the approval of using the fund option. That's
No,
one
they get to-
item.
Well, it's
What?
a choice.
No,
Well,
they have a choice.
choose to ask for it, but
Don't
someone
we
has
have
to
to approve
agree.
They either have to construct or
They have to do it
Okay.
themselves, or
I
they...
thought we have to agree when they choose to use the fund route.
Yeah, we can't force them to build it as a part of their site plan?
I believe the
Right.
planning commission has to,
Because that's
Approve it
in another
correct?
section, it talks about the process
right?
to, yeah.
I mean, they can choose to use their own.
No, it's
funded
fine. So the
enrollment.
way that it reads is, if they choose to place that in accordance with section 34, which talks about the township approval.
It's not a
It's
huge,
just a reference.
it was just so that it's clearer that they don't just get to choose, they can choose to apply. But anyway, that one's a minor thing, I don't want to get hung up on that one.
We need this ordinance to tell you to replace it.
so.
So then they have
Carol's
someone
So are we
to
okay?
fix it.
Okay.
I think we're
I mean,
okay. It's very
okay.
clear in
It's-
34
Yeah.
what the process is,
All right.
and in the zoning ordinance
Okay.
sections,
All
it's
right,
clear
that
too.
one, fine then. In 4035, it's talking about the responsibility being on the developer or the homeowner. Wondering if homeowner should be property owner to account for non-residential properties that have transferred from someone we would call a developer. Does that one make sense?
I'd like, I think property owner, because
Okay.
Well, that is
Yeah,
a
I'm fine.
developer.
Well, do we still call it a developer if it's a single small parcel that happens to be a non-residential use? That's why I'm bringing up that distinction. But, I mean, it's just one word. But
I think
Whichever way
property's
you
good.
want it, it's fine.
Property owner's fine, I guess.
Okay.
I don't-
All right. Then there's something that might be a little conflicting in section 4038 talks about 72 hours to clear things like snow and ice versus 4065 talks about 24 hours to clear other types of debris. Just wondering, is the intent to have them different to give people more time for snow, or should they be aligned?
I think the intent was to give them more time for snow, just because if there's a massive snowstorm, it may be possible for them to do it in 24 hours. But you can select the time frame that you think is reasonable.
Okay. I mean, I'm okay with either. I just didn't want it to be inadvertently conflicting and no one
No, I
noticed.
think there was a reason.
Okay.
is 72 hours pretty standard for most communities?
48 to 72, I think.
I think that's fair, 72.
Yep. All right. 4039 on users is talking about how it, being a non-motorized users, and with the emergence of e-bikes now, are we intentionally saying that we want to totally disallow all e-bikes? Because to me, I would be okay with allowing, I think they're broken into like classes, and I think most linear pathways are allowing class 1 e-bikes.
That is true from our trail.
We discussed this
So- Class one.
extensively at admin, and we decided not to exclude e-bikes.
Right.
Okay, so
Because they're not considered
are they,
motorized vehicles.
they're not, okay, as long as it's clear that we're not excluding them.
We just don't
that's-
specifically point them out.
All right.
So is
It's really hard to find.
is a e-skateboard in the same category? Because one of them passed me on the Huron Valley Trail this
I don't know.
past weekend, so I assume that falls in the same
I
category.
mean, I guess that's something, I mean, like I said, we discussed it a lot, and it really isn't a clear answer right now. I think we're just gonna have to try it. If we find that it becomes a problem, you know, we can
Okay,
amend
but the
ordinance.
current intent is not excluding that.
Correct. Because honestly, sometimes people are using e-bikes because they,
Yeah.
for physical reasons, can't ride regular bikes, so.
Will this allow
That
Sean
was
to
my
use
concern.
his
Long,
little
long
motor
discussion of
scooter
that.
on the...
Let's not talk about it, because then if it's not, I think
Yeah.
it's looking at,
Okay.
yeah.
Ignorance is bliss.
Carol, I won't go into it, but it's, we have specific rules on the airline trail, which connects to our trail, which connects to the city, and we don't want to exclude them, so
Okay,
that's,
good.
I appreciate that.
yeah.
Let's see, section 4036 struck parts B and C about dealing with costs of completion of segments. By eliminating that, are we possibly tying our hands and not being able to recoup things from property owners, or can we still, if we were to choose to do that, go through a normal special assessment process by determining that it's...
Special assessment.
Okay.
Lots of communities do that, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so no concerns about that?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we didn't want that in there.
All right, and then I guess this last one is more of a subjective thing about, it appears in a couple places, 4034, 4061, 4093, the reference to the fund option and the process for it. I guess I would like to see if someone is choosing, right now, it had only referenced, it looks like, the planning commission. I appreciate the addition of the or the township board, but to me, if someone's getting out of constructing a segment, that should get a final decision from this board, since this board is the one responsible for having to fill in those segments if they don't build them. There have been a couple instances where developments have had segments that they don't build, and then because those issues never show up here, you know, we don't know, and then someone comes in right next door and says, well, they didn't have to build it. And I think it would just add a little more consistency. I understand the counter to that would be not wanting more business to have to be dealt with here, but I think it's worth it in this case. So I don't know how anyone else would feel about that one.
Can you give me the section you're looking at?
It
Like
is
4093B?
40, sorry, it's in a couple of different spots.
4061.
4060, yeah, 4060, no, 4061 is the construction oh, yes, the unless, yeah, sorry, it is in 61 too, I missed that one.
So you want everything if they want to waive,
If they want to waive,
to come to the board?
I guess not necessarily, like some of these things, I'm not sure about the exact wording, because things like, it talks about variances for, you know, location of it. I don't care about that. But if we're talking about them just choosing, I'm not going to build this section, and then we're eventually going to maybe have to decide if we want to fill that section in.
That's a
So
planning commission job, isn't it?
You're saying
concerns me.
it's only if they were to choose to give money versus build it.
Right,
And
funds
since we
versus
have the
build.
treasurer at the board
Yes.
who, you know, hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that, but I don't want them to come back for like.
You don't want every
minor
little
thing.
Not for
No.
location variant, not for like putting it on their
No.
property instead of in the right of way, things like that, but just
Well, they
if
have
they're
to
choosing
go through
not
a
to
site plan with
construct,
that anyway.
is
So
the
it would be kind
scenario
of like a
that
variation to like the engineering standards or something.
I don't know how it would have to be worded.
The
It's
problem
Just
just-
leave it where it's at.
So a lot of these
Yeah, leave it where it's
projects
at.
you're still going to see, right? Most of the residential projects are still going to come here.
Yeah, they have to.
Special land uses are still going to come here.
Right, but
If
something
you're
that's
talking
like a
about
commercial
things
site plan along one of our arterial roads, for example, is a case where I think we do have some gaps that the planning commission just said, no, you don't have to do it, there's nothing else around you, but then as things fill out,
quite
No,
think that.
I
I
think
don't
it's
quite
better
think
planning,
that's-
better planning not having them put them sections in.
I have a question on 4061. It says the planning commission or township board during the approval of development project. I think that needs to be clarified a little bit, because you're saying if they don't come here, because some, like in certain zoning districts, they don't have to, or certain planning areas, they don't have to come here.
Like a straight site plan.
Right.
Yes.
And it just bypasses us completely.
Those are the ones that I'm talking
Sure,
about
but I
sometimes.
guess
being
in-
Well,
like-
I would put an as, comma, as applicable, because it
Right.
depends on the development
I
process.
think, that's what I want to just
Yeah.
clean up, just so there's no confusion as to who's supposed to decide. I don't know. I mean, I guess,
The current zoning ordinance it gives the planning commission that authority.
It does.
And when we were looking at this ordinance, the addition of the township board was, for example, Sterling Trail that you saw a couple months ago, you modified that requirement at this meeting.
You
And
had
so
to do
that
that.
was the reason for that, adding that language. when we
so
were
this language
discussing.
actually brings more here, brings
Yeah.
more decision making.
This is,
here.
as written, is an improvement. I was just asking that personally, I would take it a step further. But if I'm assuming I'm the only one that is in that camp, and that's okay, but.
No, I don't mind
had to
taking
bring
it a
up.
step further, but I mean, I don't know, I think a lot of the stuff on here is great. I mean, I really
You needed
didn't
it.
have.
Overall, it's all a net
comments.
improvement.
I've been working on this forever, too.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with you, Chris.
I mean, my only, and it's not even really a comment, but that same section 4061 about the design standards for the pathway, I know we took out, ASHTO's been taken out, and I don't really mind that. I guess I just, none of these developments are going to be coming in per se to do like a grant-funded system where you would have to design to those standards. So that was the only thing that kind of stuck in my head, but I think it's okay to keep it the way it is and have that removed, because this is more for developers coming in to build these.
Are the ASHTO standards higher than our
Oh, yeah.
Chapter 15 standards?
They're
Is
like,
that the
yeah,
reason?
they're like more like road standards.
Yeah, they're
instead of
road-
walk
yeah,
standards.
Oh, okay, so that's where we get the stuff with the, like,
They're
the
off the-
shoulder
off the deep end.
distances.
Exactly.
and-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad ASHTO's out.
So what do you want to do?
Are you making a motion?
Just make a motion for first reading.
I would make the motion, I just want to know, I guess, how people are feeling on that last bit, whether I include that in my motion or not.
No.
No, I don't think so,
You
but
don't have
that's
to
me.
include all these items, I took notes on it.
Okay, all
And
right.
they'll be, the notes will be in the minutes as well.
Okay,
so-
perfect,
That'll be
then,
the second reading.
I will make a motion that we move ordinance number 0523 to second reading with the changes discussed.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Got a late eye there.
I know, I was thinking, Ryan.
I'm sorry, who seconded? Was it Chris?
Who seconded that?
Chris,
Chris, was that you seconded it?
Thank you.
Chris. All right, we're going to go to the consideration of Resolution 2023-22 to approve the municipal credit agreement between Oakland County and Lyon Township. Let's get our money, right?
Yeah, right now, we touch it, or I should say Michelle's office touches the municipal credits. We basically assign it over to People's Express every single year. But this agreement puts that, allows Oakland County to allows SMART to pass that through directly to People's Express, so we don't have to touch it at all.
I like that.
Yay.
Do we
Take it
have
out
a
of our
time
budget.
frame to submit to Oakland County for the amounts we've spent so far for 2023?
The reimbursements.
Yeah.
I think they sent something today. didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, I just want to make sure we don't miss that.
Yeah. I'm going to look into that, too.
Okay, so it's a good thing.
I feel like Michelle should make this motion.
So
sorry.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-22 to approve the municipal credit agreement between Oakland County and Lyon Township.
I'll support it since I bullied you into making it.
Thanks.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move on to the approval of the Pumpkin Fest Parade road closures. And again, I think Michelle's talked to this.
Well,
and
yeah, this
you can
normally happens, and they're a little bit up in the air, but if they need this done, if they decide to have the Pumpkin Fest, because it's really kind of up in the air because they don't have enough volunteers, is what he was telling us. But they haven't made their decision, so he just wanted this on in case, which he's hoping that it goes through. I guess if it doesn't, then it just goes by the wayside, but something Phil always comes and asks us for, so.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the Pumpkin Fest Parade road closure.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move to our final piece of the meeting here, and this is to update our policy manual. And I don't know if you've all had a chance to look at the small
Just a few things.
change we've made.
If you want, Laura did give me a little bullet point of the changes that were made, if you want me to run through
Please,
them.
yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
First was addition of policy language to address the new Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. Second was the addition of language regarding the new Pump Act, which requires the employer to provide private space that isn't a bathroom for breastfeeding. Third was the addition of Juneteenth as a township holiday. Fourth was a change in language in the sexual harassment policy for clarification and typo. Fifth was a change in the safety policy to clarify that employees are not responsible for moving other employees. Sixth was the addition of language of the state that exempt employees are expected to work on average the same amount of hours as other full-time employees. Seventh was the removal of language regarding long-term disability that the township no longer provides. Eighth was language that states that the employees must exhaust all available paid leave before taking unpaid leave. And lastly was the other correction and clarification of language that really didn't substantially change the policy as it existed before.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about them updates?
John, I'd like, if there's no discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve the
But
corrected.
I actually have some questions. I guess I just, Michelle, might have been just a communication error. I didn't realize this was going to be put on tonight when it was emailed over yesterday. I haven't really had a chance to look at it, but,
Well, we sent it on Friday, and then Lisa had asked for the notes, the red line, and I thought that would help. So we didn't know if we'd get support for it tonight or not, if John felt it was good to move along once he checked it out, and he said it was good, so
Yeah.
he did add it, so I do apologize for that, just trying to get it on.
It's something that we actually need to run the day-to-day, and they're very simple additions, updates.
I like the inclusion of the Pump Act. I think that's really important, as well as some of the other items here too, but.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask, we have space now, right, with the addition,
Yes, we
there's room, so if we needed to designate a room, or if we need
We
to
just have
designate
to
a
buy
room,
a
we have
couch.
the space.
We'll back up.
Yeah, okay,
Make it comfy.
sounds good.
Then I would still like to make a motion to approve the personnel policies and procedures updates as presented.
I'll support.
All right, we have a motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, fantastic. Concludes our meeting tonight. Is there any discussion before we adjourn? All right, we're going to go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.